What's up, guys? It's your boy Hokage Puya, and we're ranking the 21st century center backs. I'm ranking in a tier list the best center backs that I've watched in my lifetime. That means we're not taking into account players from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, because this is the center backs video, and we all know the GOAT center back of all time will always be Franz Beckenbauer. But I'm not ranking him today. I'm ranking guys I watched. So any player on this list, I have watched. Now, some of these players I watched in the tail ends of their career, and I didn't, I watched them as a young boy, so my memory isn't the best. So I'm just going off of what I've seen, my opinion, me. And we're doing the center backs. I already did the goalies. I already did the fullbacks tier lists, and I'm going to do all the positions. I'm going to do defensive mid, central midfield, attacking mid, forwards or whatever. But if you miss those videos, go watch the fullbacks and goalkeeper videos if you want. But if you don't care, let's just get right into it. I'm not going to tease you guys any longer. This isn't a therapy session. This isn't one-on-one time with your girlfriend. This is one-on-one time with me. And I don't want to waste your guys' time. Let's get into it. I got the tier list. I made these myself. So King, like the other videos, we got the King, table 1, table 2, table 3, and then the waiters. Now, I must preface, just like in those other videos, just because I put you in waiter doesn't mean you're a garbage center back. We are ranking the best center backs. So we're talking about the elite of the elite. Some guys are just more elite than others. And in terms of eliteness, some are waiters, obviously one King. And then like if we're in a restaurant, you got table 1, table 2, table 3. Table 1 being, your second next tier. You understand how tier lists work. I don't gotta explain it to you. So let's just get into it. First center back on the list is David Alaba. Now, David Alaba was in the fullbacks tier list, and he's in the center backs tier list now, because what a lot of people don't realize is that he's been playing center back for 6 years now, and he's been one of the world's best. He's won 2 Champions Leagues with Real. Okay, he won 1 Champions League with Real Madrid, actually playing. This last Champions League Real Madrid won, obviously David Alaba was injured the whole season, but I guarantee you if he was fit, he would have been an integral part of that Champions League. He would have been playing almost every game alongside like an Antonio Rudiger at center back, especially when Eder Militao was injured. David Alaba is an excellent left back. An excellent center back. He, from left back transitioning, he can only play the left-sided center half. Obviously, he's a left-footed player. He is not good at a right center half position. No, I'm mistaken. He's won 2 Champions Leagues as a center back actually playing. So he's won 3, but I told you he was injured for Real Madrid. For Bayern, I'm sorry, mistake. For that Hansi Flick side, the treble-winning sextuple, my beautiful Bayern 2020 treble champions. He was the left center back along with Jerome Boateng, and he was excellent. Because he was a left back, he has a lot of speed for a center back. He's one of the most high IQ players of his generation. He's technically sound. He's an excellent player. And you saw, if you watched the fullbacks video, how highly I ranked him in the fullbacks list. David Alaba as a center back, I think I can't put him as highly. I cannot put him as highly because he spent many more years playing as a left back in his career. But from all he has achieved at center back, sextuple season with Bayern, Champions League with Real Madrid being a starter, bro, he's balling out. And I think Real Madrid have honestly missed him the last year and a half, 2 years, because of his ACL and the injuries. They've really missed him, in my opinion. His quality playing out of the back, his speed. The only issue, my only complaint with David Alaba at center back is sometimes he has lapses of judgment because he doesn't have a lifetime experience playing the position. But most of the time, dude, rock solid center back, very, very good. David Alaba, I'm going to put him in table 2. Table 2. Toby Alderweireld. Now, he's going into waiter. Now, I put him in this list because, I kind of knew he was already going to be a waiter. But I just, Alderweireld can be table 3 if that Belgian golden generation did something, if they won like a Euros, and if he won that Champions League final with Tottenham Hotspurs. If Tottenham Hotspur won that Champions League final against Liverpool, we're looking at a resume that can go into table 3. But as a player himself, because all he really has is, at his peak, all he really has is just the quality of play. He didn't win anything with Spurs because, Spurs tax. I'm sorry, I just belched. And it's just, he's a great center back, many, many years in the Premier League. I believe he was at Ajax, went to Tottenham, and he went back to the Belgian league. I'm forgetting his boyhood club he went to. Was it Antwerp? And I think he actually scored the league-winning long shot He scored a long shot to win the league on the last day of the season in the Belgian league like 2 years ago. So actually, big achievement for him there. But yeah, Alderweireld, in terms of quality alone, without any resume at all, you can't put him any higher than Waiter. Barzagli. Now, obviously, in my generation, so I watched the tail end of Nesta, Maldini, those guys. But for my, teen years and everything, the Italian center backs were Chiellini, Bonucci, and Barzagli. And I think Barzagli is sometimes forgotten. I'll tell you right now, Barzagli was never as good as Bonucci and Chiellini. He wasn't as good, but he was still a very, very good center back. He played many, many years at Juventus for a reason. And yeah, I would say he was probably better than Alderweireld. And obviously, he has those league titles with. Okay, it's not working. He has those league titles with Juventus. Believe he got to two Champions League finals with Juventus, but I don't think in 2017 he was a big player in that one. I don't think so. That's when his time at Juventus was slowly coming to an end. But yeah, solid Juventus center back for many, many years. Italian international. Obviously, something that also weighs him back a lot is just part of horrible Italy teams that getting grouped in the World Cup and just subpar performances in international tournaments. He's part of that Italian generation that underwhelmed up until they won the Euros in 2021. So yeah, Barzagli, I'll put him at the top of the waiter. He could be the chief of the waiters so far. Jerome Boateng. Let's just put him right here next to David Alaba. Jerome Boateng is probably one of the best center backs ever produced in German football. One of the most complete center backs in German football history. When I tell you, Jerome Boateng at his peak, speed, defense, command of the back line, passing out of the back, one of the best passers of the ball from the center back position I've ever seen. I really think he might be the best passer out of the back at center back. He was excellent. And I think a lot of people don't realize this is because they didn't watch Bayern consistently. I will tell you right now, I've missed 7 Bayern games in the last 12, 13 years. Jerome Boateng's passing out of the back, excellent. Just rock solid defender, physically very strong, never really beaten in the air by anyone. Just also in this age of modern defenders, he's an actual good defender, good in the tackle, knows when to tackle, knows when to back off. Defensively very aware, would position himself very well on the field. And he was just an excellent center back. And if you look at his resume, World Cup, while also locking down Messi in that World Cup final, a lot of people, for some reason, have let that Messi ankle breaking moment in 2015, for some reason, tarnish his legacy a lot. But dude, that's just one moment. Jerome Boateng locked up Messi in the World Cup final in 2014. Jerome Boateng is a 2-time treble winner. Jerome Boateng won a treble in 2013. People thought he was washed, and he came back in 2020 as the starting center back for Bayern alongside his boy here, David Alaba, and won another treble sextuple season, this time even better. Jerome Boateng is a table 1 center back that I've ever seen. He really is freaking excellent. And I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit. Because Jerome Boateng is just as good as PK, just as good as Sergio Ramos. He is their equals. And I think a lot of people don't put him in that conversation. It's unfortunate. He was genuinely the best center back the best center back in the world, in my opinion, from 2014 to 2017-ish. That's in my opinion. And, for a decade plus, he was a top 5 center back in the world. And for 2 years, Jerome Boateng was the best center back in the world. And I think a lot of people will concede that. Jerome Boateng, table 1 center back, first guy in there. Excellent. My freaking boy, Jerome. Obviously, off the field, very questionable character, but we could separate the art from the artist, guys. That's what we could do on this channel. So Jerome Boateng, table 1. Bonucci's table 2. Now, Bonucci, out of Barzagli, Chiellini, and himself, was definitely the center back that wasn't the best defensively. I would say Barzagli was a slightly better defender than Bonucci. What Bonucci had over Chiellini and Barzagli is that he's the guy that could play out of the back. He was the best passing out of the back in this modern era of football out of those 3. And that's kind of what Bonucci brought to the table, passing out of the back, qualities like a Jerome Boateng and David Alaba, long balls out of the back, line breaking passes. That's what Bonucci would do. I just, for some reason, man, I just don't think he's that amazing of a defender that people think he is. I really think if Chiellini wasn't next to him all those years, we might have seen Juventus not be as strong in defense. Spoiler alert, and you might know where I'm putting Chiellini later in this video, but Bonucci, man, I would put Bonucci table 2, but I think David Alaba is a better center back than Bonucci. I genuinely think so. And, come the end of this video, if you don't like where I rank a player, just wait till the end of the video. I'm going to change things up and see if I'm happy with my final results. Because, you guys, I do this off the fly. I know who I'm going to put at number 1, but I do this off the fly. Just press that record button and I just start yapping to you guys. So, yeah, I'm going to put Bonucci table 2 behind David Alaba. Obviously, lots of trophies with Juventus. Unfortunately, never got that Champions League, lost in 2 Champions League finals against Barcelona, against Real Madrid. It is what it is, in that era of MSN and Cristiano Ronaldo, BBC, yikes, pause. That 3P Real Madrid team, what are you going to do about that? But yeah, very good center back. Table 2 for me behind David Alaba. Fabio Cannavaro, another Italian center back. This is like the Nesta Maldini situation where I saw him at the tail end of his career. The first time I watched football, guys, my first memories is 2006 World Cup. Obviously, he's holding that 2006 World Cup trophy right there. Was so good that tournament, was Italy's best defender in the tournament, and got that move to Real Madrid after that summer and won the Ballon d'Or that year. Real Madrid tax. I don't think he should have won the Ballon d'Or that year. But from my memories of Cannavaro, I don't think I feel like some people like to say, oh, Cannavaro's in that conversation for best center backs in the world. I mean, best center backs ever. I don't think so. I think when I'm looking at a defender, his time at Real Madrid wasn't good. And I know a lot of players fail at Real Madrid and do well at many other clubs and have illustrious careers. But, he wasn't that good at Real Madrid, guys. It was a little shocking how underwhelming his performances were. Obviously, Serie A legend and all that, and he's got that iconic World Cup tournament performance in 2006. He has to go table 1 for me, but I think in the final ranking of this list, I don't think I'll put him up here in table 1. I genuinely think Jerome Boateng is a greater center back than Fabio Cannavaro. I genuinely think so. I think in terms of their qualities as a center back and in terms of their resume, Jerome Boateng has him on resume, and Jerome Boateng, in my opinion, has more qualities as a center back than Fabio Cannavaro. Obviously, they both played in different generations of what a center back was asked to do. Cannavaro didn't play in the time where you had to be amazing out of the back. He didn't. Jerome Boateng was the part of this first wave of center backs where they're world-class ball players out of the back. And for those reasons, I'm putting Jerome Boateng ahead of Fabio Cannavaro. Giorgio Chiellini. Table 1. Obviously, you had that Euros. I think the Euros was a big boost to Chiellini's legacy. I think if Italy don't win those Euros, I would put Chiellini down here in table 2, probably at the top of table 2, ahead of David Alaba as a center back. But the issue is he won those Euros, and I think along with Donnarumma and Chiesa, the 3 players in that Italy team that were the foundation for that win, coached by Roberto Mancini. It was Federico Chiesa, Gianluigi Donnarumma, and Giorgio Chiellini. Well, absolutely he wasn't just a passenger in that team. He was a leader. He was the captain, right? I think he was the captain. And his performances in the knockout stages specifically, so good. In the final as well against England, he had an amazing performance in that Euro 2021 final. Chiellini is table 1, but I would put him table 2 if that Euros didn't come into play. He was definitely the best center back, though, out of his generation of Italian center backs. He was better than Bonucci. He was better than Barzagli. He was a better defender than Bonucci. And I do think Bonucci was a better ball-playing center back from the back, but Chiellini wasn't that far off it. Chiellini was a very complete center back, played many, was the leader of that Juventus backline for a reason. And yeah, I'm going to put him table 1 here, but I'm going to put him behind Fabio Cannavaro. Dante. Now, I think Dante is 100% table 3. Dante is an interesting one. I think a lot of people will think of Dante, or I'm sorry, the Portuguese pronunciation of Dante is actually Danche. but that's so weird for me. I called him Dante my whole life, and then I found out it's actually called Danche. So I'm calling him Dante. So for any Portuguese speakers out there, bear with me. He's Dante in my heart and in my mind. Dante, at his best, was a great center back along with Jerome Boateng in a trouble-winning Bayern team, one of the greatest teams of all time. He is a starting center back in that team, that 12-13 Bayern team. He played the Champions League final. He was excellent that year. He had a great career at Bayern, winning those Bundesligas, obviously winning that Champions League. And, a big stain on Dante's legacy is obviously Brazil. And he was on the pitch when 7-1 happened. That happened. He saw it in real time in front of his eyes. He saw those 7 goals go past him right there in 4K, the closest anyone in the world could get. So the thing with Dante is he was never good enough to lead a backline himself. He needed someone. I'm sorry, my elbows are on my desk and it's shaking the camera. I definitely think Dante's a center back that needed someone to play beside him and to form a good partnership with to excel at his very best. Dante wasn't the best playing out of the back, and he was a pretty good defender. At his best, he was a pretty good defender. Dante's career, I think him being in that 12-13 Bayern team and being a starting center back there, that's a big boost to his legacy. It's a big, big boost. And also, I have to say, his longevity was pretty impressive. I don't know if he's still playing in Ligue 1 or the McDonald's League, but up until just a couple years ago, I'm pretty sure Dante was one of the best center backs in Ligue 1 just like a couple of years ago, or if not last season, if he's still there. So very long, a lot of longevity you're getting from Dante. Wasn't the quickest, but he excelled in that Bayern team because, like a Philip Lahm, he knows how to position himself on the field, and he's defensively aware. He is aware of his shortcomings in speed, and he makes up for it with how he positions himself on the field, which is a very important trait as a center back. Very, very important trait as a center back. So Dante, table 3 for me. Rio Ferdinand. Bro, I'm starting to think right now, I'm going to have too many people in table 1. We're going to have some uncomfortable conversations and put some people in table 2 and table 3. Rio Ferdinand absolutely is a table 1 player. I think Rio Ferdinand, from what I remember, was kind of like the first center back to take playing out of the back to the next level. He was kind of the first center back of this new generation of this new wave of center backs the last 15 to 20 years, where playing out of the back is a necessity. You need to be good out of the back. And with Fergie for United, he really shined in that aspect. Him and Vidic was the monster. Vidic was the thug, the bully. Rio Ferdinand, man, very elite defender himself, Rio Ferdinand, but he was the guy playing out of the back for United. He was the guy picking out amazing passes for Fergie's teams. He was excellent. He was excellent, and I always had high respect for Rio Ferdinand. I thought, honestly, I would always think, man, why does this guy have to be English? Because we understand, we know how the English golden generation failed. I really think Rio Ferdinand is better than Cannavaro. I don't think he's better than Boateng. I think, bro, this is an interesting conversation. Boateng versus Rio Ferdinand, because you're seeing two of the most elite ball-playing center backs we've ever seen, and two amazing elite defenders. Boateng trumps Rio Ferdinand because of resume. Resume is what's giving me Boateng over Rio Ferdinand right now. 2 trebles, all those league titles for Bayern. That era of dominance for Bayern. Yeah, I'm putting Boateng over Rio Ferdinand, but Rio Ferdinand is going second into table 1. We might see Chiellini drop into table 2. I'm not sure yet. We might see Chiellini drop into table 2. But yeah, Rio Ferdinand, excellent. I think along with another guy coming up in this list, probably the second best. In terms of greatness, obviously no World Cup or anything. When we're talking about best English center backs of all time, he might be the first, if not, he's top 3 English center back of all time, in my opinion. Top 3, 100%. Now, I think he's second, but he's absolutely top 3. Next, Diego Godin. Now, this hurts because Diego Godin has the quality. He was as good as a table 1 center back, but his trophies put him to table 2. He is going to the top of table 2. Don't get me wrong. He's going to the top of table 2. Diego Godin is a lot of people, when you think of those Atleti teams of the 2010s, the team that got to the Champions League final in 2014, that won a league title in 2014, another Champions League final in 2017, when I think of those Atleti teams, the first player I think of in those teams is 100% Diego Godin. Uruguayan giant in the back. Him along with a young Jimenez back then. Him along with Miranda, who's coming up in this video later. Diego Godin, if he just had won one Champions League, one of those Champions League finals for Atleti, just one, and maybe another league title, Diego Godin would be up here, and I would be putting him above Cannavaro. This is how good Diego Godin is. Internationally, obviously played for Uruguay. I think he was in the Uruguay team who won Copa America, so he has a trophy for Uruguay. But at the club level, I don't know why he had such an attachment to Atleti. I've never researched that, but he just stayed there for so long. He was so comfortable in that Simeone system, being a leader of that back line. And dude, this is a guy who was just going to war with Pete Cristiano, Bale, Benzema, Messi, Neymar. This is a guy who could defend against those dudes. Those guys would struggle against Diego Godin. They would struggle against Diego Godin. So, bro, one of the best center backs to ever play in La Liga. And I think his trophy cabinet was just what? Letting him down for getting into table 1. And for that, I'm putting him as the chief of table 2 for now. I think he'll probably stay as number 1 in table 2. I can't think of many guys who would go in table 2 and are better than him. Actually, maybe not. We'll see. I won't say anything. I won't make any promises. So yeah, Diego Godin, absolutely chief of table 2 for now. And I kind of went back on my word there right away. I said, hold on, because I think this guy is actually the chief of table 2. Mats Hummels is the chief of table 2. His longevity. So Bayern Academy graduate, moves to Dortmund, is part of those Dortmund teams that win those 2 league titles, and getting Dortmund to the Champions League final in 2013 under that energetic young Jurgen Klopp side. Goes to Bayern. Obviously, the one thing that evades Mats Hummels in his career is that Champions League. I think Mats Hummels and Diego Godin can 100% both be table 1 if they just got that Champions League trophy. I think that's the big thing missing for Mats Hummels and Diego Godin. In terms of quality, I always thought from the center back pairing of Boateng and Hummels, Boateng was always the better one. I don't know why. I feel like on social media and stuff, Hummels always got more rep. I'm not really sure why. Categorically, Jerome Boateng was better than Mats Hummels. He's a better ball playing center back. I think the only thing Hummels probably has over Boateng, one of the only things is his aerial threat on corners and stuff, and how he commands the air as a defender. Probably he's better than Boateng, but I always thought Boateng was better than Hummels. But dude, the longevity from Hummels, I think after he left Bayern, a lot of people thought he was finished. And then last season, although Dortmund did not win that Champions League final, last season, his performances in the Champions League to carry that Dortmund defense into the Champions League final, amazing. Just amazing. And there's no other words for it. I was shocked that Mats Hummels in 2024 was playing as one of the best center backs in the world, and he is still one of the best center backs in the world. And I'm not sure why, after that season, when it was confirmed Hummels would leave Dortmund, I'm not sure why a team like Chelsea, a team like Manchester United, a team like Manchester City were not in for Mats Hummels, because he could 100% play for those big teams in England. A team like Inter, a team like Barcelona or Real Madrid could use a guy like Mats Hummels. Real Madrid, with those defensive issues they have at center back, could have used the Mats Hummels this season, but he's over there at Roma, finally starting games there and still playing in the Serie A, in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. Amazing center back. And I think the reason I put Mats Hummels over Diego Godin is because as a ball playing center back, you guys, I really love ball playing center backs, because I think it's adds a whole new facet of the game as a center back. I just think, he's obviously just was a far superior ball playing center back than Diego Godin. So that's why I'm putting him ahead of Diego Godin. Obviously, Mats Hummels does have that World Cup just like Boateng. So that gives him also another thing over a big thing over Diego Godin there. So table 2 for Mats Hummels. Vincent Kompany. This is hard, We're looking at the captain of Man City. We're looking at what obviously winning City, the center back when City won their first league title, was part of the City teams that started the dominance of the Pep era in the Premier League. We're looking at one of the best center backs in Premier League history. I think a lot of people don't give him credit. I don't really know why. I think when people talk about the best center backs in the Premier League ever, especially in the Premier League era, in the 21st century, let's say, they say John Terry, Carvalho, Vidic, Rio Ferdinand, all these guys, Virgil van Dijk. And I've tried to have a conversation with some Prem fans saying Kompany's in that conversation. Obviously, he's not better than a Rio and those guys, but people try to act like it's not a conversation. This guy has a lot of Premier League titles, captain for Man City, won City their first league title. Dude, Kompany is 100% a table 2 center back. As a center back, I would say he was better. He's a better center back than David Alaba. And I do wish it sucks that he spent his prime years at City, but the thing is, I don't think at that time when he was at his peak, if you looked around the landscape of Europe, no teams really needed a star center back. Everyone had their guys. So City was kind of where he forged his career. But I really think he had the quality to go play at a Bayern or Real Madrid or Barcelona, Juventus, all these teams. Obviously, he's the coach at Bayern now, the manager. But he definitely had the quality to make a step up. I think if he ever did make that step up to a Bayern or something and won a Champions League there, it would also boost his legacy. Obviously, he doesn't have a Champions League. He wasn't in that City team anymore. He was already a manager. That also hinders him. And I think you guys are seeing a trend here. A lot of these table 2 center backs, no Champions League. Obviously, David Alaba, 2 Champions Leagues. But as a center back, he isn't as good as he was as a left back. So that's why he's in table 2. But 4 out of 5 in table 2, missing a Champions League, man. Yeah, that really matters if you want to get into these conversations. King in table 1. So yeah, Kompany, man. Great defender, had some iconic moments in the Premier League, but also, like Alderweireld, part of a failed golden generation for Belgium that should have won maybe a Euros. That Euros 2016 probably should have been Belgium's year to take home some silverware. But yeah, it is what it is. Kalidou Koulibaly. Now, Kalidou Koulibaly took a massive, like when you think of guys who took a massive reputation hit when moving to the Premier League, Koulibaly is one of them. He is one of the guys who moved to the Premier League and his whole reputation got absolutely ruined because for all those years he was at Napoli. I remember when I was playing FIFA, he used to be French and then he committed away from France for Senegal, right? For Senegal because he wasn't getting called up for France. And I remember his FIFA card changed to the Senegalese flag midway through the season. I was like, what the hell happened? But Kalidou Koulibaly was one of the best center backs in Serie A for many, many years for Napoli. He was a monster. He was a monster. And unfortunately, his best years were at Napoli. And at Chelsea, he never replicated the same form. And also the unfortunate thing for Kalidou Koulibaly is that when he did go to Chelsea, he went at the wrong time. He went during a time where Chelsea was in the mud, no direction with the club. You know, when a team isn't playing well and when a club is in the gutter, it's hard to judge a player. And I think he had moments, but he also just defensively lacked awareness a lot of times for Chelsea in the Premier League and in the Champions League. So Koulibaly, I don't actually know. He didn't even play in the Champions League for Chelsea. He was during that time where they weren't making the Champions League. So Koulibaly is definitely going to go into the waiter category. And I'd put him ahead of Alderweireld because he does have an AFCON, does he not? He does have an AFCON. So honestly, yeah, but the reputation hit he took in England, he really was not good for Chelsea. He really was not good. So I'm putting him in waiter. Laporte, I'm putting Laporte in table 3. Obviously has a Euros now for Spain. Was part of those, early Man City teams where Pep brought him over from La Liga and turned him into, a great center back playing out of the back. There was one season where genuinely him and Van Dijk were the 2 best center backs in the world, like one season, and the out and out 2 best center backs in the Premier League. I think it was the 2018-2019 season. He was 100% like the face of that Man City back line. The outstanding performer that year, along with Van Dijk for Liverpool, in the league that season. So Laporte, yeah, the only thing with Laporte is, yes, he has Euros. Yes, he has those moments for City. Again, doesn't have that Champions League. And he just went to Saudi, man. He went to Saudi for the paycheck. I don't blame him. but he was a starting center back for Spain, and they won the Euros. He could have been playing in Europe the last 2 or 3 years ever since he went to Saudi for a top team, but he chose the paycheck, and that's a legacy hit on you. That is a legacy hit on you. So Laporte, I'm gonna put in table 3. Lucio. Now, Lucio, the story of Lucio, good Bayern defender, never delivered the Champions League for us. We sold him to Inter. Next year, he wins the treble with Inter and beats Bayern in the final and starts that final. And who does Inter beat in that final in 2010, the year after when he sold to them? It's Bayern. Just crazy scenario. I mean, Lucio, again, his international career lets him down for Brazil. I don't know why I'm yawning this early into the video. His international career for Brazil lets him down. He is kind of an underdog center back. Obviously he was good. He wasn't shunned out of Bayern, but obviously he left Bayern and had a lot of success with Inter under Mourinho. I can't put him any higher than table 3, though. I can't put Lucio any higher than table 3. I think I'd put him above Dante. I would put him above Dante. I'll put him in the chief of table 3 center backs. David Luiz. Obviously, just like Dante was on the field for 7-1. But yeah, David Luiz. The one thing that always stood out for me with David Luiz was how good he was at free kicks. His free kick technique was excellent. He would hit that. And no one else has ever taken free kicks like David Luiz. David Luiz would go so, he would go so horizontal with his foot. He would hit it with like his heel. David Luiz's free kick technique, I think, is not talked about enough. This guy would hit free kicks basically with his heel, and it would dip and swerve in so many weird ways. He scored some crazy ones for Chelsea. Obviously, his outstanding free kick was against Colombia in the 2014 World Cup quarterfinal, when that adrenaline celebration he had. The stadium goes crazy in the Maracanã. Like, that was an insane moment for David Luiz, and he actually made the World 11 one year. I think it was the year of that World Cup he made the World 11. David Luiz is interesting because I don't think he was ever an elite center back. I don't think as a defender he was ever fantastic. He was someone who was decent. He was good. I wouldn't say he was world class at passing out of the back. He was pretty good passing out of the back. And in terms of a defender, he was good. He was just a good center back overall. And I think he did take a legacy hit when he went to Arsenal during those clown years of Arsenal, and he was a decent servant for them. But, obviously in those dark times, those really, really dark times for Arsenal there, he was getting clowned on a lot. His reputation really took a hit there. But yeah, I don't think I could put him higher than table 3. I think he made the World 11, had a pretty decent World Cup for Brazil in 2014, regardless of 7-1. Spent many years at PSG. Was kind of that first batch of players who went to PSG, along with Zlatan, Lavezzi, Matuidi, all those guys who went there, Cavani, to kind of build something at PSG. So 1 league titles there. So yeah, David Luiz, I can't put him any higher than table 3, though. And I think that Lucio was a better center back than David Luiz. So David Luiz, you could go in second place in table 3. I think we've got to our GOAT. We're here at our king. We're here at the king. It's Maldini. Okay, let me just bring him up here. I'm sorry, guys. I hate to say it. I think Nesta was better than Maldini. I think Nesta was a better center back than Maldini. That's one of my football hot takes. When I was a very young kid watching Nesta and Maldini play for AC Milan. I was very young, but when I would watch them, I just thought Nesta was better, not by a lot. I don't think Nesta was better by an insane amount, right? I don't think so. But I did think as a center back, because remember, a lot of people seem to forget Maldini played like half his career as a left back, which I just realized. I was about to say I didn't put him in my fullbacks list, but that's because I never watched him play as a fullback. So people don't realize this guy spent most of his career as a left back. But for Maldini, man, let's just talk about Nesta. I think Nesta is the best center back I've seen as a pure defender, because yes, I like my Jerome Boatengs and Rio Ferdinand's passing out of the back, but when I'm talking about a pure defender, Nesta is in that category of defenders along with Maldini and Philip Lahm and those guys, where they are some of the best pure defenders of all time. And I think for that reason, I'm putting Nesta as the king of center backs because he is one of the best tacklers I've ever seen as a kid. And I would go back and watch his highlight clips. His tackles were so freaking good. He would do risky tackles in the box, but he would execute them to perfection. Obviously, he has those Champions League for AC Milan. I think the big legacy hit for Nesta and some of those guys for AC Milan is that Champions League final against Liverpool. I think that's a disgraceful loss to lose such a horrid Liverpool team. But regardless of that, Nesta, king. He's the king center back. He really is. And, even when I was a young kid watching him as a 6, 7-year-old or whatever I was, I knew how good this guy was. I was like, oh my God, you can't get past this guy. He tackles you with such power. And just excellent center back. So my hot take, guys, is that Nesta is the king. He's the best center back I've ever seen. That's my hot take. And Maldini is going to go to the top of table 1 as a center back. Although Jerome Boateng is the far superior and more well-rounded center back than Maldini, in my opinion, because of his ability to play out of the back, the defensive capabilities of Maldini are just superior to Boateng, just far superior to Boateng. And for that reason, obviously, these two were going to be my top 2. And I was still debating while I was thinking in the back of my head when I was doing the tier list right now, or am I going to rank these? I think I'm going to come out and say it. I think Nesta is the best center back I've seen. I think Maldini will be at the top of table 1. But yeah, obviously we're talking about 2 guys who I put up there as the best pure defenders of all time, along with Franz Beckenbauer and Philip Lahm and those kinds of dudes. So Nesta, king, Maldini, table 1. Not much else to say. I don't need to go on a 10-minute explanation of who these guys are. Marquinhos, Waiter. I think Marquinhos really, I really think Marquinhos had the potential to be a very, very good Brazilian center back. I do think he's better than David Luiz. I think Marquinhos is better than David Luiz. When he was a youngster coming up at PSG, I really had high hopes for him. But the issue is, and the big game where there was just a massive fall off for Marquinhos was in 2021. Was it in 2021 or 2022? 2022 against Real Madrid, he got absolutely pimped in that comeback against Real Madrid, and then ever since then, for the last 3 years, he's been a brick, and he never hit that level he was supposed to hit because he's very good playing out of the back. He was a very good defender, but these days he's not that good. He just isn't the guy he used to be when he was coming up in the mid 2010s. So yeah, doesn't have that many achievements outside of his league earned trophies. So yeah, Marquinhos, unfortunately, I'm going to put into the waiter category. Mascherano. I put Mascherano as a center back above Company. I'm putting him above Company as a center back. Obviously, the thing is, Mascherano was like a DM stroke center back, but bro, he won a treble in the MSN team as a center back. He was a defensive mid. Don't forget, Mascherano was a defensive mid. But in my opinion, Javier Mascherano was the best player for Argentina in the 2014 World Cup when they got to the final. It wasn't Messi. Messi was gifted the World Cup player of the tournament trophy because FIFA wanted to suck him off. Manuel Neuer was the best player in that tournament. But for Argentina, Javier Mascherano was the player of that tournament for Argentina. He was excellent, getting that treble in the MSN, playing so many years, getting that treble as a center back in that MSN 2015 Barcelona team, and playing so many years at Barcelona. He was a squad, like he wasn't a squad player to the sense that he was only a substitute or anything. He had a meaningful impact. He was an important player to those Barcelona teams. And yeah, just the fact that he was able to be on those Barcelona teams shows you the technical quality and tells you about the technical quality Javier Mascherano possessed. So for that reason, I'm putting him into table 2. But I just think Hummels and Godin were better center backs than Javier Mascherano. Next, Miranda. I think Miranda, I'm going to put him another Brazilian center back. Look at these. 1, 2, 3, 4 Brazilian center backs in table 3. Miranda, I think, is going to be the chief of table 3. I don't know how many guys. I'm looking at the guys here real quick. I don't think anyone else will trump him. He's going to be the chief of the table 3 center backs. Miranda was very good. He was the partner with Godin in that 2014 Atletico team. I think he was not the starting center back in 2017 for Atleti. In fact, I think he had already moved on to the Serie A at Inter. I'm not remembering fully, but let's just talk about his time at Atleti. Excellent center back. I think when you're talking about as an actual defender, as an actual defender, I think he's the second best Brazilian in this tier list. Obviously, Thiago Silva's coming up. I think he's the best Brazilian center back of all time. But Miranda, yeah, he was the second best Brazilian center back of his generation. Um, and I think a lot of people don't give him a lot of respect. And I think a lot of people might forget about him, but people are fickle. People have short term memory loss. People don't remember like I do. And I remember Miranda was a very solid center back. There was a reason why I think the best Atleti team ever was the 2014 Atleti team. And there's a reason why he was a starting center back in peak Diego Simeone Atletico Madrid ball, along with Diego Coutinho, because he was that freaking good as a center back. So Miranda, table 3, chief of table 3 center backs right there. Otamendi, I think the World Cup is what gets him into table 3. As a defender, though, I'm not putting him ahead of Lucio. I can put him ahead of Dante and David Luiz and Laporte. Actually, I forgot to put Laporte higher. I think Laporte sorry. No, the thing that killed Laporte was his move to Saudi. That's what I'm talking about. His move to Saudi is what kills Laporte. I think Laporte can be up here, but that move to Saudi, I forgot. That move to Saudi kills him. So I'm going to put Otamendi right here. Excellent in the World Cup for Argentina when they won it. Obviously, his finals performance wasn't that good. He's the one that gave the first penalty to Argentina to start that comeback for France, but he was excellent in that World Cup. And I think at City, there's a reason why Pep brought him over from Valencia. I remember he was at Valencia, very good center back there. He brought him over because he is good out of the back. But what we noticed at City during his time there is that as a center back in a very high line, in a very possession-dominated team, Otamendi would make foolish mistakes and cost Man City goals for no reason. I think you saw that for some reason at City for a couple of years. Although he had a decent career at City, won some league titles, he would just have lapses of concentration and make mistakes that would eventually put him back onto the bench and not have a starting position anymore. So Otamendi also doesn't have that Champions League trophy, so he can't say anything on that front in terms of European trophies, but X on the World Cup. And I think, bro, honestly, I think Otamendi's best years were at Valencia, and also these days he's at Benfica right now. He's excellent at Benfica. I've been noticing it in the Champions League. He has been amazing for Benfica. There's a reason why. I think he's actually gotten better with age. I don't know what happened in Portugal, whatever, but he's actually gotten better as a defender. He's lost some speed and he's had to focus on his positioning on the field and had to focus on being a more responsible defender. And I think we've seen from Otamendi, a maturity in his game these days. So yeah, good on him, but I can't put him any higher than table 3. Pepe. Mr. Pepe. I am putting Pepe in table 1. I'm putting Pepe in table 1. I think the thing that puts Pepe in table 1, obviously, he was the best player for Portugal in that Euros win. He was. Defense was king for Portugal. The reason Portugal won the 2016 Euros was because of defense. And who was the leader of that defense? It was Pepe. He has Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. Obviously, earlier in his career in Real Madrid, he was known as a terrorist. Like, he was known as this brute force defender, would hurt people on purpose. He kind of lost that in his game. He plays just as passionately now. But he's more mature. He's more mature these days. He has Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. He has that Euros for Portugal. And just like Otamendi, but to an even greater extent, after he left Real Madrid and went to play for FC Porto, the maturity he showed in his game, the growth. Pepe, as he lost some of that speed, he turned into such a good defender. And I think I really noticed this at this last Euros, because at this last Euros, he was one of the best center backs of the tournament. He was immense in that backline for Portugal. Unfortunately, they got knocked out against France in a very, very close game in that tournament, but he was probably the player of the tournament, in my opinion, for Portugal as a 40-year-old. Just in this year in the Euros. And a year ago, When FC Porto played Arsenal in the Champions League, he was freaking immense. The Arsenal guys could not do anything against them. Obviously, Porto ended up losing on penalties, on penalty shootout in that Champions League tie, but he was the player of the match, man of the match in both of those games against Arsenal as a 39, 40-year-old. Again, such maturity to his game. He's aged like fine wine. And for that dude, because of that maturity and taking his actual defensive abilities to the next level, he has achieved table one, in my opinion. And I think he's a better center back than Chiellini and a better center back than Cannavaro was. I'm putting Pepe in table one, 100%. Another table one center back, PK. Now PK is going to go right up here in front of Rio Ferdinand. This is a conversation. Boateng versus PK, for me, this is a conversation. You have two guys that have won 2 trebles. Both have won a World Cup. I think, though, you have to put PK above Boateng because he has a Euros for Spain. I think that's the only thing. That's how close it is here. PK and Boateng, in my opinion, equally as good playing out of the back as center backs. As defenders, I think Boateng's actually a better defender than PK. But I think the trophy cabinet and his impact at Barcelona under Pep Guardiola, PK just slightly trumps Jerome Boateng, if I'm being completely honest. He just slightly trumps him. Obviously, I think Boateng, as he got older, aged better as a center back. PK, as he got older, was getting clowned on more and more. Remember, like those last 2 or 3 seasons at Barcelona weren't the best. He was still very good. He was still doing a great job, but he had fallen off, a lot compared to what he was at his peak for Barcelona. But what he won for Spain and just excellent. I think, sometimes you got to. I'm kind of struggling here because he was really getting clowned on for a couple of years before he left Barcelona. He was really getting crapped on. A lot of people were saying his legacy was getting tarnished, and it honestly was. But I think he left Barcelona finally at a good time and saved himself a lot of the damage he was doing to his legacy. Yeah, PK just table one center back for sure. It's like for some of these guys, I feel like I'm explaining too much. I think you guys understand how good some of these center backs are. So yeah, PK table one, and we're gonna get to Carlos Puyol. So here's the thing. I'm gonna do something here. I think I'm gonna put Chiellini to top of table 2, and I think I'm gonna put Puyol at the end of table 1. I think I'm gonna put Puyol at the end of table 1. I think my head might be in the way. So yeah, behind my camera is Puyol. Bro, honestly, I don't think Puyol is a table 1 center back though. I don't think so. And honestly, Chiellini, I'm going to put you in table 2 as well. I think Chiellini was a better center back than Puyol. I understand Puyol's achievements for Barcelona, but when I think of him now, putting achievements and your trophy cabinet aside, when I think of him as a center back, I don't think as a defender, as a center back, Carlos Puyol is in table 1. I don't think he has the quality of these guys we see here so far that I've put in table 1. So Puyol, I understand, World Cup winner, clutch goal in the semifinal against Germany, scoring that header in that close 1-0 win. I understand, but as a defender, I saw him get done not a lot of times, but I saw him get done a good amount of times in that Barcelona backline. I thought PK was the better center back in the backline there. I understand that it's just so hard because when I was growing up, I thought very highly of Puyol, but as I've grown up, watched more players, and really taken a look back, a retrospective look at his career and who he was as a player, I don't think he's a table 1 center back. I don't think he's got that greatness that these guys have, and that some of these guys here that I'm gonna put in. I have. So Puyol, I think actually I'll put him top of table 2. But deep down inside, guys, I can't put him table 1. And honestly, Chiellini, I can't put you table 1 either. So it is what it is. Sergio Ramos, our next table 1 entry. I'm putting him above PK. Now, something I think a lot of people might think, oh, if you're talking about the 21st century, if you're a 23, 24-year-old guy, surely Sergio Ramos is the best center back you've seen. Surely he's got to be the king. But the thing that really lets down Sergio Ramos is he really isn't this elite defender that everyone thinks he is. When I talk about the best defenders of all time, I think it's a very small group of individuals who mastered the art of defending. Maldini, Nesta, Philip Lahm. Three guys off the top of my head that I put in that conversation. I think a lot of people think of Sergio Ramos in such a high sense that they would automatically put Sergio Ramos in that conversation. But I'm telling you right now, Sergio Ramos was an elite defender, but he wasn't one of the greatest defenders of all time. He wasn't. He absolutely wasn't. Because I'm sorry, the art of defending is to tackle, is to not concede, is to do things cleanly. And the amount of yellow and red cards this guy picked up in his career really damages his legacy as a defender. It really does. But the thing that boosts him even higher is that he was still an elite defender, has a World Cup playing at right back for Spain, three-peat Champions Leagues for Real Madrid, just achievements upon achievements upon achievements. And in those 2010s, he alongside with Piqué and Boateng, those guys for me were the three just outstanding center backs of the 2010s. And I think Sergio Ramos's achievements is what puts him ahead of Piqué and Boateng, because I think as defenders here and as players playing out of the back, I don't think there's that much of a difference between these three players at their peak. I really don't think so. I think you're splitting hairs between these three at their peak. But because of his achievements and all he did for Real Madrid, that three-peat team, whatever, just that would just win and win and win and terrorize Europe, I have to put him second in table one, ahead of Piqué and ahead of Boateng. Ruben Diaz, I'll give him his credit. Ruben Diaz has been a very good center back for Manchester City. Obviously, right now, Manchester City is struggling. But yeah, he's a center back with a treble. I think a lot of people will forget that those players and these players in this Manchester City team are literally treble winners. And Ruben Diaz, since the moment he came into the Premier League for this City team, has been one of the best defenders for them. One of the best defenders in the league for the last 5 years now. Very consistent. Four-peat with Manchester City, treble winner with Manchester City. Obviously hasn't won anything with Portugal. And actually has never really replicated his club form for Portugal, which is also kind of a knock on his career. But yeah, he's been very good. I just think when we're talking about pure defending, I can't put him here with these guys. I can't. And I can't put him against over Lucio and Miranda. So table 3, I think, is a respectable place for Ruben Diaz. Rudiger. Now, Rudiger is an interesting one. Let me tell you a little backstory on Rudiger. I didn't think Rudiger would ever make it to this level. I knew he had a lot of quality. I knew it. But when he left Germany and when he went to the Serie A specifically for Roma, and I saw what he was doing at Roma, he was being too rash. He was playing with not much composure in the Serie A. And I thought, okay, Rudiger, if you could just be composed and compose yourself better on the field, you could be a great center back. But he just wasn't making those right steps. And I thought when he moved to Chelsea, I thought it was interesting. I was surprised that Chelsea went in for him because I really think he wasn't that impressive in Serie A. But since he moved to Chelsea, every year Antonio Rudiger got better and better and better and better. And don't forget, there was a weird time when Frank Lampard was coach of Chelsea. Frank Lampard did not think Rudiger was good enough to start. Frank Lampard gets sacked. Tuchel comes in and he wins a freaking Champions League with Rudiger being top 3 most important players in that Champions League run for Chelsea. 100%. It was Kante was the most important player. And honestly, I'd argue to you right now, Rudiger was the second most important player for Chelsea when they won the Champions League in 2021. And his performance in that final against Manchester City, his performance was absolutely excellent. And he wins that Champions League for Chelsea, gets the move to Real Madrid 2 seasons later. And for Real Madrid now, guys, he has a Champions League. And last season, that season he had for Real Madrid, carrying that back line while Alaba and Eder Militao are injured, the performances Rudiger had in the Champions League knockout stages, because you guys remember, Real Madrid weren't this dominant team last season. Bayern, Man City, Dortmund dominated them for large spells. RB Leipzig in the round of 16 last season dominated them, but their defense held tight, and he is the reason why. Rudiger, for his performances in the last year, he really has shown a huge improvement in his level, and I have to put him in table 2. I'd put him ahead of Bonucci. And he still has years to go on his career. He still has years to go. So he could go up higher in table 2. I think for Rudiger, I don't think Rudiger could ever be table 1. I don't think he'd ever be table 1. If he could win something for Germany, let's see what happens. 2026 World Cup, he could go up here. He could go right up here with these guys, potentially along with Puyol. But he's got to do it more. A couple more years of playing excellent football, Rudiger, and he can get up here, further up the list. John Terry. Now, he's going in table 1. I think I'm putting him ahead of Rio. Now, I'm not putting John Terry ahead of Boateng. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm just not. Because I think ball playing wise, he just isn't to this level. But as a defender, as a pure defender, he's the best English center back, in my opinion, of all time. He's the best English center back I've ever seen. There's the reason why he was making the World 11. He is in the center back partnership in 2004. Was it the 04-05 season? The 04-05 season, the best defensive record in Premier League history. The longevity he had at Chelsea. Yes, he's a questionable player. I understand off the field. He's a very questionable player. And actually, let me move myself up here so we could see table 1 a little better. Yes, he's a questionable player. I understand. I do understand. But as a defender, supreme. The best English center back of all time. I think in a Premier League all-time 11, you put him in there along with Rio. In a Premier League all-time 11, you do put those two right next to each other. You guys, I forgot someone. I'm such an idiot. I don't know what Liverpool. If you watch the fullback video, you'll know that I accidentally missed Trent. I'm not trying to disrespect Liverpool. I forgot to put Virgil van Dijk here. Yikes. But yeah, best Premier League center back of all time, in my opinion, John Terry. Yeah, putting him in ahead of Rio just slightly. Thiago Silva, just table 1. Table 1. I just think the only thing that lets Thiago Silva down is Brazil. Brazil lets him down, and no, he wins that. Him winning the Champions League for Chelsea. That's what it was. Those are the 3 players I want to say. So I was gonna say Conte was the most important player for Chelsea when they won the Champions League. Rudiger was second. Thiago Silva was third. Him and Rudiger and Thiago Silva, fantastic partnership that season, and he was amazing. I just think the reason why he's so much higher than Rudiger is because his longevity in Europe. A youngster at AC Milan in the late 2000s was part of that first wave of players that went to PSG to make a name for himself in Ligue 1 and try to win a Champions League for PSG. Obviously, that never happened, but a lot of people overlook Thiago Silva because of that time at PSG. Not that many people watch Ligue 1, but he was the best center back for PSG all those years. He was the best center back in Ligue 1 for many, many years. He made that move to Chelsea. He finally got the recognition he deserved because moving to a league with a lot more eyes and eventually winning that Champions League. And up until last year was Chelsea's best center back as a 39 whatever year old. Just as a defender, rock solid, defending fundamentals. What I want to see from a center back. Thiago Silva, table 1. Varane, I think his move to United really was a legacy hit. And I think something you would even see at Real Madrid with Varane, and I'm going to put him at table 2, but I'm going to put him at the end of table 2. The issue with Varane is he can never lead a back line. For Real Madrid, he always needed Sergio Ramos to hold his hand. For that France World Cup winning team in 2018, Umtiti was the leader of that defense. At United, you see with no one there when he's supposed to be the leader of the United defense, he failed completely. He completely failed. Yes, he was getting injured, but when he was fit and playing, he was not playing to the same levels. He was not leading the United defense like he should have. And I think that's the big knock on Varane. He always needed someone to hold his hand in order to play to his absolute best. He could never lead the back line himself. And that's the biggest knock for Varane. And I think that's a big slight on you as a defender. Obviously, his trophy cabinet is amazing. It's an amazing trophy cabinet. World Cup, all those Champions Leagues for Real Madrid. But your ability as a defender matters a lot in these lists. And I have to put Varane in table 2. Vertonghen, I think he, like again, trophy cabinet. Trophy. I'm putting him down here with Alderweireld. Not much else to say. And then Vidic, bro. Vidic scared me. I was actually, I genuinely, when I was watching him, I always used to think if I ever was 1v1, if I ever ran into Vidic for some reason, I would piss my pants. This guy looked weird, man. Vidic would just look scary. He looked like if he saw, he looked like he didn't like when he was playing on the field. Vidic looked like someone who didn't like puppies, who listens to heavy metal music, and just a menace. Obviously, he's a very nice guy, very very nice guy off the pitch. I understand that. Um, Very nice guy, but very scary center back. I thought Rio was the better center back out of the two, but as a pure defender, he was a monster. I don't think Vidic is table one though. I don't think Vidic is table one. I'm gonna put him in table two. Honestly, as a center back, no, I'm not putting him ahead of Carlos Puyol. I'll put him right here ahead of. No, I'll put Chiellini ahead of Vidic, and I think Vidic being in table two, that's a good ranking for him right there. And dude, honestly, I low key want to put Cannavaro in table two, but I won't go that far. So we're at the end of the list now. I know his picture isn't here, but I'm gonna do Virgil van Dijk, and Virgil van Dijk is gonna go right here ahead of Pepe. Behind, actually, no, Virgil van Dijk is gonna go right here behind John Terry, in between Rio Ferdinand. Imagine I have Virgil van Dijk right here. I'm putting Virgil van Dijk behind John Terry in front of Rio Ferdinand here. Just immense. I think of the last 8 years when he finally broke through at Southampton, getting the move to Liverpool. I was skeptical back then of Virgil van Dijk, of someone coming from Southampton to come and try and reform that Liverpool backline under Klopp, and he executed right away. He slot in right away. His impact was immediate on Liverpool. He came in and made them a 10 times better defense. And since then, he's just been excellent, close to winning the Ballon d'Or in 2019. I think if Messi didn't have such an insane season in 2019, we could have seen Virgil van Dijk be the 2019 Ballon d'Or winner. He was definitely deserving of that award. Just Messi was also deserving, and he was in one of the most insane peaks I've ever seen in football. So yeah, Virgil van Dijk I would put right here behind John Terry and ahead of Rio Ferdinand. But let's see what with the way Liverpool are playing now, and if he stays at Liverpool a couple more years and wins a couple more Premier League titles, I would put him ahead of John Terry right here as the best Premier League center back of all time. But right now, yes, I don't know his picture, but I would put Virgil van Dijk right here in table one between John Terry and Rio Ferdinand. I'm looking at this list, guys. There's not much I would change. Honestly, I think a lot of people on table two, dude. Fuck it, bro. I'm putting Bonucci in table three. And honestly, I'm putting Varane in table three behind Bonucci. I think his trophy cabinet really carries him. Because I think Miranda might, as a center back, be a better center back than Varane, low key. But no, I won't disrespect him too much. I'm looking at waiter lists. I'm happy with. I'm happy with this table three. I'm happy with the ranking in table three. I'm kind of table two ranking. I don't know what to make of it. I feel like Hummels and Godin should be higher. Honestly, yeah, I would put Hummels ahead of Vidic and Godin ahead of Vidic. And I would put Hummels ahead of Chiellini. This is interesting. I think I will put Chiellini. Listen, two guys that have won their Continental Cups for their nations. Two guys that never won the Champions League. I'll put Chiellini ahead of Godin. But yeah, I'm going to put Hummels up there. I'm happy with this. I think, actually, Alaba I'll put ahead of Company. And I'd put him ahead of Mascherano. I'll put Alaba as a center back. So I think I'm good with that. That's my final list. Nesta the King. I'm happy with that. Oh, I'm at an hour and 3 minutes. I've been sitting here talking for an hour and 3 minutes. Dang. If you made it this far into the video, guys, I appreciate it. If you're subscribed, I appreciate it. If you're not, think about it. If you enjoy these videos, I think either tomorrow or the day after that, I'm going to do my DMs list. That's going to be a shorter list because, obviously the DM position is of his specialty, and there's not been that many elite DMs where we could be talking about the best DMs I've ever seen. So that one's going to be a shorter list, probably like 35 minutes max on that one. So tune in. I'm going to do all the positions. If you haven't watched it yet, I have a goalkeepers one up. I have the fullbacks one up. And yeah, this was my center backs one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you can, I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe if you're new and you want to see more content. Obviously, content's a little slow right now, end of the year, holiday time. Bayern isn't playing. Obviously, I'm a Bayern fan. I like to make a lot of Bayern videos. Yeah, I'm gonna make a video on the Premier League soon because I think it's wrapped up. I think Liverpool's gonna win this Premier League easy peasy. I think it's pretty much finished. But yeah, guys, 21st century center backs. This is how I'm rating them. Remember, I've watched all these center backs. That's my ranking. Comment if you agree or disagree. Yeah, it's been your boy Hokage Puya. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.